Okay, so here is section Unit 22, Simplification and Operations with Radicals. Section 4, Dividing Radicals. So you remember from class, if we want to divide these two, what we need to do is multiply by a number equivalent to 1. That is the conjugate over the conjugate, basically, of that denominator. So what we'll need to do is choose over here on the menu, choose multiply by a form of 1. Okay, then they bring up this nice helper little box here. Okay, and so what we're going to type in here is the conjugate. So the denominator. So denominator is 6 minus 3 radical 14. So we needed to multiply that 6. So we'll put a parenthesis 6 minus, or not minus, because conjugate is the opposite sign. So plus, just opposite sign of the second term. 3. And we have to use the square root button. Square root 14. Parenthesis. And then divided by the same thing. Parenthesis 6 plus square root of 3. Oh, excuse me, I forgot the 3. Better put it in now. 3, so we're at 3 and 14. Okay, so that, and we can multiply anything by 1, and we just get the same thing, right? It's the multiplicative identity property. So I'm going to press enter. Ah, that's my lucky day. It looks like I need another parenthesis here. Okay, let's try that. I need another parenthesis to show that this whole thing is on the top of the numerator, and this whole thing is the denominator. There. Okay, so we've got the conjugate over itself there. Okay, so now what we can do is use a piece of paper. That's what I would recommend, to write down your work. This is pretty tough to do this in your head, and because this is some serious foiling. So we're going to use the FOIL method, if you remember that, which is first terms, outer, inner, and last. That's FOIL. So, or you can use a box if you'd like to do that. Okay, so the first terms, I'm going to multiply this one times that one. Those are the first ones. So 7 times 6 is 42. Then the outer ones, so 7 times, this is the other outer one, 7 times 3 square root 14. So that'll give me 21 square root 14. And then the inner ones, which is the square root of 7 and 6, which is just 6 square root 7, because it's 6 times 1 is just 6. And then the last terms, so square root of 7 times 3 square root of 14. And that's 3. And I'm going to put, you can multiply what's inside the radical, so, but I'm going to write it as 7 times 14 right now. I might change that later. Okay, now the bottom. So remember, since this is a negative and this is a positive, our goal is to get this square root of 14 to drop out. And that's why we want to multiply it times the conjugate. 6 times 6, 36. That's the first terms. Outers, 6 times 3, square root 13. 6 times 3 is 18. And leave the square root 14 there. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Now we have negative 3, the inner terms, negative 3 times 6, which is negative 18 square root 14. And then the last terms, negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. Square root of 14 times square root of 14 is just 14. It's going to multiply times 14. Okay, so now, what else can we simplify? Let's see. So let's simplify this. This all looks pretty good here. We can't do much with that. So we'll just rewrite it. But then I can change this to the factors of 14, which are 7 and 2. Then I notice I have a 7 times a 7. So let's write that out and see what we can do with it. And that should not be a minus. That should not be times. It should be a plus. Right? Yeah. Okay. And then 3, the square root of 7 times 7 times 2. So I just changed 14 to 7 times 2. Because look at now I have a 7 times a 7, which is a perfect square. Okay, we'll come back to that later. Let's work on the denominator. So 36 just comes down here. 18 square root of 14 minus 18 square root of 14 is 0. So those all go away. And then 9 times 14, I can multiply that out. And I get 126. Ah, that's what I messed up on. So here, this should be a minus. I wrote a dot and I meant a minus. If you remember from up here, we had negative 9. Negative 3 times 3 would be negative 9. So let's bring that down as negative 126. So I use my calculator to figure out 9 times 14. Okay, progress. So now 42, I'm going to leave that. Can't do anything with that yet. Plus 21 square root 14 plus 6 square root 7 minus, now 3 times, square root of 7 times 7, which is 49, is just 7. So I'm going to bring that 7 out. When I bring the 7 out, I'm going to multiply it with the 3. So I end up with 21 square root 2. Okay, pause it for a second.